I never thought accepting free coffee would lead to me standing in front of her closed shop at midnight 6 months later, watching her pack up her life while the bank foreclosed on everything she'd built, knowing I was part of the reason her marriage ended and her business failed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to a rainy Monday morning when I walked into her coffee shop with nothing but a deadline and a caffeine addiction, and walked out with something far more dangerous. My name is Daniel Hayes, 30 years old, freelance journalist, living in a one-bedroom apartment in Seattle with student loan debt and a career going nowhere. My girlfriend of 4 years, Michelle, had left me 6 months earlier. "You're married to your work," she'd said, throwing her apartment key on my desk. "And your work doesn't even pay enough to support one person, let alone two. Grow up." Dan. She wasn't wrong. I spent my days chasing stories that newspapers didn't want to buy, writing think pieces that got 50 views, wondering when I'd finally admit I wasn't going to be the next great investigative journalist. I was just another millennial with a degree in debt and dreams that didn't pay rent. The coffee shop was called Rowan's. Small place, tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner on Capitol Hill. I'd walked past it 100 times without going in, but that Monday morning, I was desperate. My usual place was packed. I had a deadline in 3 hours, and I needed caffeine and Wi-Fi. The bell chimed when I entered. The shop smelled like fresh ground beans and something else, something warm and inviting I couldn't quite place. Cinnamon maybe, or cardamom. There were mismatched armchairs, local art on the walls, shelves of books you could borrow. It felt like someone's living room, not a business. And behind the counter stood a woman who made me forget why I'd come in. She was wiping down the espresso machine, her back to me, dark hair twisted up in a messy bun with strands falling loose around her neck. She wore jeans and a gray sweater with the sleeves pushed up to her elbows, and when she turned around, I saw a face that wasn't conventionally beautiful but striking in a way that made you look twice. High cheekbones, full lips, eyes that were somewhere between green and brown depending on the light. Mid-40s, I'd guess. Maybe 45. She had fine lines at the corners of her eyes and a small scar on her chin, and she looked tired in a way that suggested she'd been tired for a long time. "Good morning," she said, and her voice was warm, like honey and tea. "What can I get you?" I approached the counter, suddenly aware I'd been staring. Large coffee. Black. And do you have Wi-Fi?" "We do." "Passwords on the board." She gestured to a chalkboard by the window. "Anything to eat?" "What's good?" She smiled, and it transformed her entire face. "Everything's good. I make it all myself. But if you're looking for a recommendation, the cardamom rolls just came out of the oven." Sold. She poured my coffee, plated a roll that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread, and set both in front of me. "That'll be $8.50. I reached for my wallet, pulled out my debit card. She ran it. The machine beeped, declined. My stomach dropped. "Sorry. Can you try it again?" She did. Same result. I felt heat creeping up my neck. Let me check my account." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and my heart sank. Negative $43. I'd forgotten about the auto pay for my internet bill. "You know what?" she said before I could speak. Her voice gentle. "First-time customer discount. On the house." "I can't." "Sure you can. Consider it marketing. You'll come back, tell your friends, and I'll make it up in future sales." She pushed the coffee and roll toward me with a smile that said, this wasn't charity, just good business. But we both knew it was charity. I should have insisted on paying later. Should have left the coffee and gone somewhere else. Instead, I took it. "Thank you. Really. I'll come back and pay you. I promise. I'm not worried." She went back to wiping down the counter. "Enjoy." I found a corner table, opened my laptop, and tried to focus on my article. Tried and failed because I kept glancing at her. The way she moved behind the counter, efficient and graceful. The way she greeted each customer by name, remembered their orders, asked about their families. The way she laughed, low and genuine, not performed. This wasn't just a business to her. This was her place, her creation, her care made tangible. Around noon, the lunch rush died down. I'd been there for 3 hours, bought 2 more coffees to make up for the free breakfast, and was making decent progress on my article. She came over with a sandwich. "Lunch," she said, setting it down. "I didn't order, I know. But you've been here all morning and I saw you eyeing the case. Turkey, avocado, house-made focaccia. I can't keep taking free food from you. Why not? I'm the owner. I can give food to whoever I want. She pulled out the chair across from me. Mind if I sit? It's slow. Please. I gestured to the chair, acutely aware of how close she was now. Close enough that I could smell her perfume, something citrus and clean. I'm Rowan, by the way. Rowan Kim. Daniel. Dan. Most people call me Dan. Which do you prefer? Daniel, actually. But most people can't be bothered with 3 syllables. She laughed. Then Daniel it is. We talked for 20 minutes. I learned she'd opened the shop 3 years ago, that she roasted her own beans, that she'd left a career in corporate law to do this. Midlife crisis, she said, with a self-deprecating smile. That's what my ex-husband calls it, trading a 6-figure salary for debt and dawn baking sessions. Ex-husband? As of 8 months ago. The divorce just finalized. She said it matter-of-factly, but I caught the flash of pain. I'm sorry. Don't be. 20 years was 19 too many. We married young, stayed together out of habit. He wanted the corporate life, the big house, the country club membership. I wanted. She gestured around the shop. This, something real, something mine. We wanted different things. That's why my girlfriend left me too. Well, ex-girlfriend. Different visions of success. What's your vision? I looked at my laptop, at the article I was writing for a website that would pay me $50 if I was lucky. Honestly, I'm still figuring that out. She smiled, understanding. Aren't we all? From that day forward, I became a regular. Every morning, same table, same order, and every morning, Rowan would comp something. A muffin here, an upgraded size there, a free refill. You don't have to keep doing this, I said one day, about 2 weeks in. Something that made my pulse quicken. Charged. Rowan Plus, you're good for business. People see you working and think, oh, this must be a good place to get work done. She said it lightly, breaking the tension, but the moment hung between us. After that, I started staying longer, helping her wipe down tables when the rush ended, carrying supplies in from her car, making her laugh with stories from my failed journalism career. She told me about her marriage, how she'd woken up at 42 and realized she'd spent 20 years living someone else's life, how opening the shop was terrifying and exhilarating, how her teenage daughter was angry about the divorce and blamed Rowan for destroying the family. She doesn't understand yet, Rowan said one afternoon as we sat in the empty shop after closing. She thinks I'm being selfish. Maybe I am. You're being honest. That's not the same thing, isn't it? I blew up my marriage because I was unhappy. That's pretty selfish. Or brave. Depends on how you look at it. She smiled at me, soft and sad. You're kind, Daniel. I'm honest. There's a difference. We sat in comfortable silence, the golden afternoon light filtering through the windows, and I realized I was in trouble. Because I wasn't just coming here for the coffee anymore. I was coming for her. 1 month turned into 2. 2 turned into 3. I knew her schedule, her moods, the way she hummed while she baked. I knew she took her coffee with too much sugar and not enough cream, that she was allergic to shellfish, that she cried during Pixar movies. I knew the exact shade of her eyes in morning light versus evening. I knew I was falling for her, and it was the worst possible idea. She was 15 years older than me, recently divorced. My friend who wasn't really my friend because we were tiptoeing around something we both felt but neither acknowledged. Then one day, she changed everything. It was a Tuesday evening. I was the last customer, packing up my laptop. She was closing out the register. Daniel? Yeah? About all the free drinks and food? There's a small condition. My heart stopped. Okay, come have dinner with me. I stared at her. What? Dinner. Tomorrow night. My place. I'll cook. We'll eat. We'll talk like adults instead of dancing around whatever this is. Rowan, I don't think. If you're going to say no, at least do it to my face. I turned to look at her. She was gripping the counter, her knuckles white, her expression vulnerable and terrified and hopeful all at once. I'm 45 years old, she said. I'm recently divorced. I have a teenage daughter who hates me. I run a coffee shop that's barely breaking even. And I've spent the last 3 months falling for a customer who's 15 years younger than me and probably thinks I'm pathetic. I don't think you're pathetic. Then what do you think? The question hung in the air. I could lie, make something up, walk away, and keep things safe and uncomplicated. Instead, I told the truth. I think you're brilliant. I think you're brave. I think you scare the hell out of me because I've never wanted someone the way I want you. And I think dinner tomorrow night sounds perfect. Her breath caught. Really? Really? This is a terrible idea. Probably. You're 30 years old. You should be dating someone your own age. I don't want someone my own age. I want you. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were shining. 7 p.m. I'll text you the address. The next evening, I stood outside her apartment with a bottle of wine and nerves that made my hands shake. She opened the door in jeans and a soft blue sweater, her hair down for the first time I'd seen, falling in waves past her shoulders. She looked younger somehow, less guarded. Hi, she said. Hi, come in. I hope you like Italian. I made too much pasta because I was nervous and now we have enough for a small army. Her apartment was like her shop, warm, eclectic, full of books and art and evidence of a life fully lived. We ate dinner at her small kitchen table, talking about everything and nothing. She told me about her daughter Emma, 16 and angry, who lived with her dad most of the time now. About the pressure of running a business that was hemorrhaging money despite her best efforts. About the loneliness of starting over at 45. I told her about my failed engagement before Michelle, about my father's disappointment in my career choices, about feeling like I was running out of time to make something of myself. You're 30, she said. You have all the time in the world. Doesn't feel that way. I know. But trust me, 30 is young. 45 is young too, despite what society tells us. We're all just figuring it out as we go. After dinner, we moved to her couch with wine. We sat close, not touching, both aware of the space between us and the electricity charging it. Daniel, she said quietly. Yeah? I need you to understand something. If we do this, if we cross this line, it's going to be complicated. Emma will lose her mind. My ex will have ammunition. People will judge. They'll say I'm having a midlife crisis, that you're going through a phase, that we're both making a mistake. Are we? Probably. She turned to look at me, but I haven't felt this alive in years, and I don't want to ignore that just because it's inconvenient. I set down my wine glass, turned to face her fully. Then let's not ignore it. Are you sure? No. But I'm sure I'll regret it more if I walk away. She smiled, tentative and beautiful. That's not a very romantic declaration. How about this? I've spent 3 months coming to your coffee shop just to be near you. I've memorized the way you laugh and the way you bite your lip when you're concentrating. I think about you when I wake up and when I go to sleep. And I don't care that you're 45 or divorced or have a complicated life. I care that you make me feel like maybe I'm not wasting my life after all. Her eyes filled with tears. Daniel, so, if you want romance, I'll give you romance. But if you want honesty, that's it. I'm falling for you and I don't know how to stop and I don't want to. She kissed me then. Soft at first, tentative, like she was asking permission. I kissed her back. Harder, my hand cupping her face. And she made a small sound that went straight through me. We kissed until we were both breathless, until her hands were in my hair and mine were on her waist, until the wine was forgotten and the world narrowed to just us. Stay, she whispered against my mouth. Stay tonight. Are you sure? No. But stay anyway. I stayed. We spent that night talking and kissing and not sleeping. We spent the next morning in her kitchen, her in my shirt, making terrible coffee and laughing about it. We spent the following weeks in a bubble, stealing moments between her shifts, at my apartment, in parks where no one knew us. Didn't want her ex-husband to use it against her in custody disputes. Didn't want her customers knowing and judging. So, we hid. Met after closing. Kept our distance in public. Pretended we were just friends if anyone asked. It was exhausting. I hate this, she said one night in my apartment, curled against my chest. Hiding you. Like you're something shameful. I get it. Emma's not ready. She's never going to be ready. She still thinks her father and I will get back together. Finding out I'm with someone, especially someone your age, it'll destroy her. So what do we do? I don't know. Keep hiding, I guess. At least for now. But hiding became harder when her ex-husband found out. Maybe a customer recognized us together. Maybe he just had a feeling. But one day he showed up at Rowan's, and I was there, sitting at my usual table. He was tall, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit. He looked like money and confidence and everything I wasn't. He didn't make a scene. That would have been beneath him. Instead, he walked calmly to the counter, ordered a cappuccino, paid with a crisp bill, and only then did he turn to look at me. "You must be Daniel," he said, his voice pleasant, conversational. Like we were old friends running into each other. "David." Rowan's voice from behind the counter was tight. "What are you doing here?" "Supporting local business. This is still a public establishment, isn't it?" He took a sip of his coffee, made an approving sound. "Still excellent." "Rowan, you always did have good taste. In coffee, at least." The barb was subtle but landed. I stood up. "Look, I don't know what you want, but—" "Relax, son. I'm not here to cause a scene." David smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm just curious. You're what, late 20s? 30. "Ah, 30. He said it like it explained everything. Perfect age. Old enough to seem mature, young enough to not have any real responsibilities yet. "Tell me, do you have a career? Or are you still finding yourself?" My jaw clenched. "I'm a journalist. Freelance, I'm guessing." "Yes." Rowan mentioned something about that. "It's nice, isn't it? The freedom to chase your passions without worrying about mortgages or college tuitions or building something that lasts." He turned to Rowan. "Remember when we were 30? Before we had to grow up and make actual commitments?" "David, I'm not judging." "Rowan, really. I understand. Divorce is hard. You're allowed to have a transition phase." The way he said it made it sound like a disease. "This isn't a phase," I said. "Of course not." David smiled again. That same cold smile. "I'm sure it feels very real. First love always does. Or is it first love for you, Daniel? I imagine at 30 you've had a few." "That's enough," Rowan said, moving from behind the counter. "Say what you came to say and leave. I came to say this. Enjoy it while it lasts." He looked at me, then at her, his expression almost pitying. "But Rowan, you know yourself better than anyone. You've never been good at finishing what you start. The pottery phase lasted 4 months. The yoga studio idea? 6. This shop? 3 years. And it's already failing. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm being realistic. You get excited about things, then you move on when reality sets in." He set down his coffee cup, pulled out his wallet, left a generous tip. "So, by all means, enjoy your coffee shop romance. But, Daniel, when she gets bored, and she will get bored, don't say I didn't warn you." He straightened his jacket, gave us both a pleasant nod. "Have a good day." Then he walked out, calmly, quietly, like he just had a normal conversation about the weather. The shop was silent. A few customers were pretending not to have heard, but their body language said otherwise. Rowan's face was white. I felt sick. "He's wrong," I said, but my voice sounded uncertain, even to my own ears. She didn't respond, just stood there, staring at the door David had walked through. "Rowan, I need to excuse me." She disappeared into the back room. I waited for her to come back. 15 minutes. 20. Finally, I went to find her. She was in the small office, sitting at her desk, her head in her hands. "He's not right about you," I said from the doorway. "Isn't he?" She looked up at me, and her eyes were red. "Pottery, yoga studio, this shop. He's not wrong about the pattern. That's not the same thing. You didn't quit those things because you got bored. You evolved. You kept looking until you found something that fit. Or, I keep running away when things get hard." "How do you know this?" She gestured between us. "Isn't just the next thing I'll abandon when reality sets in?" "Because I know you. You've known me 3 months, Daniel. He knew me 20 years. Maybe he knows something you don't." The seed of doubt David had planted was taking root. I could see it in her eyes. "Don't let him do this. Don't let him make you doubt what we have. What if he's right? What if I'm not capable of this? Of commitment? Of building something that lasts? You built this shop? From nothing. That's commitment. And I'm losing it. 3 years and it's failing. Maybe that's the pattern. Maybe I really don't finish anything. I crossed the room, knelt in front of her chair. Listen to me. That man spent 20 years making you feel small, making you doubt yourself. Don't let him keep doing it now that you're free. She touched my face, her expression so sad it hurt. What if he's right about you too? What if you're just a phase? Then I'm the best damn phase you'll ever have. I tried to smile. She didn't smile back. After that day, things changed. The poison David had injected worked slowly, insidiously. Rowan became more distant, more careful, like she was already preparing for the end. 2 weeks later, she got the letter from the bank. Foreclosure. 60 days. I found her in the shop after closing, sitting on the floor surrounded by papers, crying. I'm losing it, she said. Everything I built, it's gone. We'll figure something out. Alone, investors, there's no time. And no one's going to invest in a failing coffee shop run by a woman who can't finish anything. David's words, coming from her mouth? That's not true, isn't it? Look at the evidence, Daniel. He was right, about all of it. He wasn't right about us. Wasn't he? Look at what I've dragged you into. Drama with my ex. A daughter who hates me. A business that's failing. What exactly am I offering you? Yourself. That's enough. She looked at me with exhausted eyes. Is it? Because all I see is a 30-year-old wasting his time on someone who's a complete mess. You're not a mess. I'm 45, broke, losing my business, and dating someone 15 years younger who deserves so much better than this. We spent the next month watching her dream die. Packing up the shop, selling equipment, saying goodbye to regular customers. And with each box packed, each goodbye said, I felt her pulling further away. The night before the final day, she asked me for space. I need to process this alone, she said. I gave her 3 days. When she finally texted, we need to talk, I knew it was coming. I went to her apartment. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I've been thinking, she said. About us. About everything. My stomach dropped. I think we should take a break. The words hit like a punch. What? This isn't working, Daniel. The shop is gone. Emma won't speak to me. And you're wasting your time with someone who can't get her life together. You're going through a hard time. That doesn't mean. It means I need to focus on rebuilding my life. And you need to focus on yours. You're 30 years old. You should be building your career, not playing therapist to your girlfriend's failures. They're not failures. And this isn't Rowan? Don't do this. I have to. David was right. I don't finish things, and I can't do that to you. I can't let you be the next thing I start and then abandon. You're not abandoning me. I'm standing right here. I'm choosing to stay, then choose to leave. For your own good. My own good? Or yours? Because it sounds like you're running scared. Her eyes flashed. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm terrified that he was right about everything. That I'm just a 45-year-old woman having a crisis and you're going to wake up one day and realize you wasted your youth on someone broken? You're not broken. Yes, I am. I have nothing, Daniel. No career, no business. A daughter who hates me. An ex-husband who was right about me all along. What exactly do I have to offer you? I wanted to find the right words. The perfect speech that would fix this. But I was too tired and too heartbroken. If this is really what you want, it is. Then I'll go. But you're wrong. About all of it. David doesn't get to define you. The only person who gets to decide what your life means is you. I left, walked out of her apartment and tried to convince myself it was for the best. The weeks that followed were gray. That's the only word for it. Gray. I went through the motions. Worked, ate, slept. The coffee at other shops tasted wrong. Too bitter, or too weak, or just not right. My apartment was too quiet. I'd gotten used to the sound of her humming while she cooked, the way she'd narrate her thoughts while reading, the soft rhythm of her breathing when she fell asleep on my couch. Without those sounds, the silence was deafening. My career should have filled the void. That's what Rowan wanted, right? For me to focus on my work. And I did. I pitched bigger stories, landed better assignments. 2 months after we broke up, I got the call. A major national magazine wanted to buy a long-form piece I'd written about small businesses struggling in gentrifying neighborhoods. The pay was $15,000. More money than I'd made in 6 months of freelancing combined. I should have been ecstatic. Should have celebrated. Should have felt like I'd finally made it. Instead, I sat in my apartment staring at the contract, and all I could think was, I want to tell Rowan. My hand reached for my phone on reflex, pulled up her contact. My finger hovered over her name. I'd written the piece while sitting at her shop. She'd brought me free refills and asked about my progress. She'd read early drafts and given feedback. She'd believed in it when I didn't. She was threaded through every paragraph, even if she didn't know it. I put the phone down without calling. What would I even say? Hey, remember when you told me to focus on my career? I did. And it turns out success feels pretty empty without you. The check arrived a week later. I deposited it, paid off some debt, and felt nothing. That night, I ran into Emma. Literally, I was leaving a bookstore, distracted by my phone, and nearly knocked her over. Sorry, Emma? She looked older than I remembered. Taller. Less angry. Daniel. Hi. We stood there awkwardly on the sidewalk, pedestrians flowing around us. How are you? I asked. Okay. Better than I was. She shifted her backpack. I've been in therapy, working through stuff. That's good. My therapist says I was displacing my anger about the divorce onto my mom, making her the villain because it was easier than admitting my dad isn't perfect. She said it matter-of-factly, like she'd practiced the words. That sounds healthy. Is it true you and my mom broke up? I nodded. She ended it, said she needed to focus on rebuilding. That's stupid. What? It's stupid. She was happy with you. Like, actually happy. I hadn't seen her smile like that in years. And then she lost the shop, and I think she just gave up on everything good in her life. Including you. She's trying to do what's best for me. Emma gave me a look that was far too knowing for 16. By breaking both your hearts? Yeah, real smart. She adjusted her backpack again. Look, I was a brat about you two. I admit it. I wanted my parents back together, which was delusional because they were miserable. And I took it out on my mom. That's understandable. It's not, actually. You want to know what changed my mind? What? I moved in with my dad for 3 months. Full time. Like he wanted. You know what happened? He forgot my birthday because he was at a medical conference. Then he brought his new girlfriend to the house without telling me. She's 32, by the way. Younger than the age gap between you and mom. But somehow that's fine because my dad's a man. The bitterness in her voice was sharp. Emma, my point is, my mom left because she was drowning. She spent 20 years making herself smaller so my dad could feel bigger. And when she finally started being herself, opened that shop, fell for you and it got hard, she panicked. She's scared, Daniel. Scared that being herself means losing everything that matters. I don't know what you want me to do with that. Go get her. Tell her she's being an idiot. Make her see she's worth fighting for. She told me to leave her alone. Since when do you listen to self-destructive people? Emma pulled out her phone. She's staying with a friend in Fremont. I'll text you the address. But if you hurt her, I'll hurt you. And I know where you live. Deal. She texted me the address and walked away, leaving me standing on the sidewalk holding a thread of hope I'd thought was gone. I went to the address that night. A modest house in Fremont. Lights on in the windows. I stood on the porch for 5 full minutes before I knocked, trying to figure out what to say. A woman in her 50s answered, looked me up and down. You must be Daniel. Is she here? Back patio. Fair warning, she's going to be pissed you tracked her down. I can handle pissed. I found her sitting on a weathered wooden chair, wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. She had a mug of tea in her hands, steam rising in the cool night air. She looked up when I approached, and even in the dim patio light I could see she'd been crying. How did you, Emma? Emma, I'm going to kill her. Don't. She's smarter than both of us combined. I sat down in the chair next to her without being invited. What are you doing here, Daniel? I got a call 3 weeks ago. That piece I wrote about small businesses, the one I worked on at your shop, National Magazine bought it. $15,000. She looked at me, surprise flickering across her face. Daniel, that's That's incredible. Congratulations. You want to know what I did when I found out? What? I pulled the magazine from my jacket pocket. It had arrived yesterday. My article spread across 8 glossy pages with professional photos. I'd read it 3 times and couldn't get past the emptiness. I sat in my apartment staring at this, and all I could think was that I wanted to call you, that you were the first person I wanted to tell, that this whole thing exists because you gave me a place to work when I was broke, because you believed in it when I didn't, because you're in every paragraph whether your name appears or not. I handed her the magazine. She took it, her hands trembling slightly. I wrote this at your shop. You brought me terrible free muffins and asked how it was going. You read drafts and told me when something didn't work. You were there for all of it. Rowan? So, when David said I was wasting my time with you? When you said you were holding me back? This is my answer. I tapped the magazine. You're not my crisis. You're my muse. The reason I started giving a damn about my work again? The reason any of this matters. She stared at the magazine, tears spilling down her cheeks. Daniel, you told me to focus on my career. I did. I got everything you said I should want. And you know what? Coffee at other shops tastes wrong. My apartment's too quiet without you narrating what you're reading. And success feels pretty empty when I can't share it with you. She set down the magazine with shaking hands, wiped at her tears. I'm still 45 and broke with a complicated life. I know. You're still 30 with your whole future ahead of you. I know. And none of that matters as much as you think it does. David said, "Fuck David." The words came out harder than I intended. You let him define you for 2 decades. Don't give him the next 2 decades, too. You're brilliant and brave, and you've built something beautiful, not just the shop, but the life you're trying to live, the honest life. That's worth more than any business. She looked at me, really looked, and I could see the war in her eyes. Fear and hope and doubt and want, all tangled together. What if I mess this up too? What if I really am the person who doesn't finish things? Then we'll mess it up together. But we'll have tried. And trying is better than running scared. Is it? Because I spent 2 months without you, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, I'd rather fail with you than succeed without you. She laughed, broken and watery. That's a terrible life philosophy. Maybe. But it's honest. And you taught me that honesty matters more than perfect. She was quiet for a long moment, just looking at me. Then she said, my apartment's too quiet without you too. I kept making too much coffee in the morning out of habit. Yeah? And I tried watching that documentary series you recommended. Made it 3 episodes before I gave up because you weren't there to explain all the historical context. I can fix that. Can you? If you'll let me. She reached out, took my hand. I'm still scared. Me too. But maybe that's okay. Maybe being scared means it matters. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. She gave me free coffee and told me 30 was plenty of time to figure things out. She pulled me closer, and I went, kneeling in front of her chair so we were eye level. I love you, she said, even though it's terrifying and complicated and possibly a terrible idea. I love you. I love you too. Even though you make terrible free muffins and your coffee has too much sugar. She laughed for real this time and kissed me, and it felt like coming home. 6 months later, we're still figuring it out. Rowan took a job at a boutique roaster across town, using her skills without the crushing pressure of ownership. She likes the craft without the business stress. She's rebuilding her relationship with Emma, who surprisingly has become one of our biggest supporters. Emma even had dinner with us last week, and when she left, she hugged me and whispered, "You're good for her. Don't screw it up." Her ex-husband is still bitter, still makes snide comments when they have to interact about Emma. We've learned to tune it out. Last month, I used the magazine money to help Rowan with the remaining debt from the shop. She tried to refuse, said it was my money. I told her it was our money, earned at her shop, drinking her terrible free coffee. We moved in together last month. A small 2-bedroom in Wallingford, that's ours, not mine or hers. She keeps her spices organized alphabetically, and I leave coffee mugs everywhere, and we're learning to navigate each other's habits. People still judge, still whisper about the age gap, still look at us in restaurants and do the mental math. At a party last week, someone asked Rowan if I was her son. She said no, her boyfriend, and didn't flinch at the awkward silence that followed. I love her for that. For choosing us even when it's uncomfortable. Because Here's what I know. That first free coffee wasn't charity. It was an investment. In connection, in possibility, in the chance that two people might find each other at exactly the wrong time and decide it was actually exactly the right time. Was it appropriate? Questionable. Was it the best mistake either of us ever made? Absolutely. Sometimes the most beautiful mistakes are the ones we never regret. I'd walk into that coffee shop again. I'd accept that free drink again. I'd fall for her again, knowing everything that would happen, the judgment, the complications, the pain of almost losing her. And that small condition she mentioned, it wasn't really about dinner. It was about taking a risk, about being brave enough to want something even when everyone tells you it's wrong, about choosing honesty over safety. And I'm glad we both said yes. Because my coffee tastes right again. My apartment isn't too quiet anymore, and success actually means something when I get to share it with her.